Here's an interview from one of our past shows on Rock and Metal Revival. If you're interested in hearing full shows, go to our Facebook page and check out our list of affiliates for times and places where you can hear Rock and Metal Revival.
There is Free Your Mind from the Life and Times of Eddie Gage from Aldo-Nova. And we want to welcome to the revival, Aldo-Nova. Welcome to the show, Aldo.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being here.
I tell you what, it's taken quite a bit of time, but you finally released The Life and Times of Eddie Gage EP earlier this year. Where'd you come up with the idea for the rock opera? Where did that come from, and how long of a process has it been?
Let me see. Well, first of all, I did the disappearing act. I've done a bunch of disappearing acts over the years. I did one disappearing act in 1984 after the Twitch album because of I didn't like the record company telling me to do covers, basically because that record was like they told me to do other people's songs where I didn't write. I didn't do the lyrics. So I figured I'm creative enough to come up with my own songs. But so after that, I just basically went back to Montreal and waited out my contract till 89 when they finally let me out. I did commercials and things like that. And then in 1989, when I finally, I was still writing and demoing, John Bon Jovi called me to do Young Guns 2, which I arranged and did a bunch of work on that while I did all the songs and the demos. And then he said, okay, well, you have all these demos, you got all these great songs. So we did Blood on the Bricks. And then after Blood on the Bricks, and I went on the road for a year with that. Then grunge came around, and grunge killed everybody. I mean, once they saw the flannel shirts, you were done. I mean, we were done. When after that, I went on the road since I speak French and Italian. I do a lot of producing for French acts and Italian acts. So I went on the road with like a couple of the biggest French acts around. Patrick Bruel, who's touring he plays places he plays stadiums out there. So I toured with him for about 6 months. And then I came home in 1997. I did Nova's Dream. And then I basically dedicated myself to becoming a full-time dad. My son Wilder was born, and I said, I'm just going to basically take time off and just do whatever I'm supposed to do. I become a full-time. I concentrated on being a dad. I wanted to become a real, not that I wasn't before. It's just at this time, I just wanted to dedicate him to him and watch him grow up and be there for every second, and then be there for all my kids. And so I did that. And then I became a very successful writer. After that, got signed by Desmond Child's publishing company and Desmond Child, and wrote hits for everybody. In 2001, I wrote A New Day Has Come, which was huge for Celine Dion. Then I wrote, was number one in 26 countries for 6 months. I wrote for Clay Aiken, which was number one the day it came out. I wrote for Faith Hill. I wrote for I had 10 number one hits going between those years. Nice. And then in 2008, since it was such a thankless job because you do everything on the records, you basically tell them how to sing. Like Celine Dion, basically, you have to tell her how to sing. You have to do, when you do a song before you present it to her, you have to literally make a record before she understands the song. You don't just give her a piano vocal or a guitar vocal. They don't get it. So you have to basically do a record with a singer, and I tell the singer how to sing, and basically she does that, and it's a record. And so you present that to the record company or the A&R, the artist repertoire, and he plays it for her, and she goes, yeah, I love this song. And then what happens then at that point is that you go into the studio and produce, and they basically copy identically what you did. Mm-hmm. So after making people, like stars, and all of it on the album was a thank you, I decided that, I just didn't need that anymore. I just went into, and I said, okay, well, I'm done that. And in 2008, I went home and I said, well, fine. I said, well, it's either I'm going to starve and do what I want to do, and which I did. I starved for like a long time. And I decided to do this rock opera called Eddie Gage, Life and Times of Eddie Gage, which the title came to me right away. And it was it was a story in life of basically autobiographical of my life, of what it was, the ups and downs in the music business, except it was more, I mixed it more with like metaphysical elements. So all the names, if you study the names in it, you'll see that the characters I associated were like Eddie associated now in 2022, knowing after having read all my contracts and after seeing how badly screwed I was. I mean, it's like on my first album, I only make 2%. I don't make, 98% goes to other people. Yeah. So it's like I see peanuts even years after that. So I got all my contracts and everything, and I realized that people were selling me like a piece of meat, a piece of livestock. There was one contract in particular that was between Sony ATV, which had signed me as a publisher back in 1982 for my writing, and they signed me as a recording artist when they found out I could actually perform and record, and they rented me out to CBS, and they would negotiate between themselves. And it was like, well, Aldo-Nova's like the hottest commodity now in the music business now, and he's worth so much. And basically my stock was worth that much. And it was so, in my mind, they're demons. So in the record cup, in the Life and Times of Eddie Gage, the main character, the guy who signs Eddie Gage, his name is Andy Christos. So if you take Andy, it's Andy, but Christos is Christ in Greek. So you name that fast and it's Andy Christ. And so the lyrics, which are the most important thing in the album, you can read the lyrics like in the whole rock opera is 25 songs and it's 2 hours and 5 minutes long. But I put out an EP, which is only 10 songs, which gives you an idea that it's a rock opera. So how it came about was that I wrote, I had the idea as the Life and Times of Eddie Gage, and I sort of based the character around myself because, the ups and downs of the music business and what I had seen and what I experienced. And so I wrote, it started out that I wrote 8 songs, the first 8 songs. I wrote 1 song a day the first song I wrote was, actually some go as far back as 1989, but the first song I wrote for the actual album, The Life and Times of Eddie Gage, I said, well, this is the first song, was on February 8th, 2008. And then there's other, because I dated the lyrics, and there was one on February 9th, one on February 10th, one on February 11th, one on February 12th. And it was just like a never-ending stream of creativity because the character just so engrossed me that it was so personal that it was easy to pull the inspiration. So those songs, I went into the studio and recorded them, and they ended up on the actual final product. So that, and then I would take time off. And Eddie Gage, I didn't want it to be an album where I sat down at a piano and I like, plunk a couple of chords and, it's like, do just like whatever, just do a find the chords. I was writing from inspiration, so the melody would come first and then I would go pick it out. So that's how it came. So the record took from 2008 to, I wrote the last song on November 11th, 2021.
Wow.
And then, and it went through various incarnations. Songs were written, songs were taken off, songs were written, songs were taken off. So I wrote 8 songs in 2008. I wrote some in 2011. And I wrote a bunch in between, but I'm talking about songs that made it to the album. I wrote some in 2013, 3 in 2013. I wrote 2 in 2015. And then a bunch of them in 2019. I was really inspired, but I didn't force anything. I didn't want to write by formula, because I had done that for years. I can sit in a room with 3 guys and, give me 3 hours and we'll come up with, 2 hit songs. So I wanted to write from an inspiration and then write for each character. So each character had its own style of music. I didn't do a rock opera that was like Tommy, where the instrumentation is always bass, drum, guitar, and vocals. What I did is I based each character has his own musical style. Okay. Like if you listen to The Life and Times of Eddie Gage, the EP, there's like super heavy rock songs, which are like Hey Laddie Daddy. And then you have Free Your Mind, which is more funky, which is like a simple chord riff, but like the bass and the drums are just going nuts on it. And then, you know, Follow the Road, which is a great ballad. Then you have King of Deceit, which is like a 40-piece orchestra and one voice, and it's very classical. It's a classical piece. In other words, it's a showpiece. It's more like an opera. And so everything is varied. So each character has his own style of music rather than having like, you know, just a 4-piece band and changing the lyrics. And that's what they did for it. So, and in the meantime, I still did all these different projects. I mean, that I'm putting out now. Like I just released Short Stories May 20th, which is like 3 songs that I had written, which are great songs. And on July 15th, I'm releasing an instrumental called Sonic Hallucinations, which is like really spaced out instrumentals, which is like
oh, nice.
It sounds like let's see, symphonies for extraterrestrials. That's how I describe
nice.
It. It's like cool. It's insanity, but it's so complex. And I would sit there at home and I would just like write this in like 5 hours and just, you know, just compose. I just like, I was inspired and I did 3 songs in 3 nights, and it would take me 7 hours to do. And I was just listening to my old stuff on my disc drive and I'm going, well, this is really great stuff. And because of the fact that you have Spotify and I have a great distributor and, you know, I have a contact in, I just said, okay, well, you know, I'll just put it out on I'll put it out on digital medium. So it's 2 albums. The other 2, The Life and Times of Eddie Gage and Reloaded, which is also came out. See, The Life and Times of Eddie Gage came out April 1st, 2022, which is the 40th anniversary to the day of my first album. Oh, and wow. Then April 19th, I put out Reloaded, which is I redid a bunch, most of my better known songs, but to the nth degree. And then I put out Short Stories, but Life and Times of Eddie Gage and Reloaded, you can find on CD. And I really paid attention to the packaging. And I went old school. I did like really incredible packaging. I don't know if you've seen the packaging, but
I got the 2.0 right.
That's really, I know, but I mean, if you pay attention, if you've seen Eddie Gage, it's got a 16-page. It's got 16-page booklet, and it's got, you know, like all the liner notes. It's got 7 pages of liner notes because when I was a kid, the most fun I had was reading the liner notes. I had more fun than reading the liner notes than I did listening to the album.
Yeah.
So I concentrated on that, and the packaging cost me about, I say, $4 more to create a great package than any other artist. Most artists will spend like $1.50. It cost me $4 to release to make my packaging, but for me, it's worth it because, you know, it's like the fans realize that you make a quality product, and you know, like in the end, it pays off because, you know, the fans realize that you work for them, and you know, because in the end, you're my boss. The fans, like, I work for them. They don't work for me, and it's like they pay my salary. They're the ones that keep me alive. Yeah. So you know, a lot of artists get that wrong. A lot of artists. You know, think that they go on stage and they're doing their fans a favor, which in essence, they're entertaining their fans, which is great. But the real people that, you know, they pay the tickets to see you. So in essence, they're paying your salary. So you have to give them a good show, but they're the boss. It's not the other way around. A lot of people go on stage to be adulated and be put on a pedestal. Whereas I'm completely not that at all. I mean, you know, I don't need to play in front of 20,000 people to have fun. I'd rather just sit here. I'm having as much fun sitting here talking to you guys than I have, in front of 20,000 people. It doesn't make a difference to me, you know.
Nice, nice. Now, when will the full rock opera be released? The full Eddie Gage?
That's sort of it's gonna have to be really, really well set up, because I've had a couple of setbacks, because my album is I pay for everything myself. I mean, after 40 years of being screwed and then re-screwed, and unfortunately, you know, by management, by record companies, I decided to take control. And in 2008, I decided to not, you know, I waited till my contracts all ran out, my publishing, everything. And then once they did, I just started, I was still building up material and buying everything, but I paid for everything myself, my records, my musicians, my mastering. And I have Bob Ludwig mastering. I don't have, some two-bit schmo. I've got like Bob Ludwig. So it's the best of the best. But I pay for everything. I pay for my videos. I pay for all I have is a great distribution deal with the Orchard through Mr. Calazzo, and that's all I've got. I don't know anybody a cent. You know what I mean? So that gives me control. But but it's tough, because having written such a classic song like Fantasy became sort of a blessing and a curse. One, I think it's incredible that 40 years later, a song has had so much lasting power, and it plays on the radio, and people, and now it's just in the last month, the first video of the Fantasies had 1 million views. It's as if people are just discovering, wow, you know, it's like there's a sort of a missing link between the 70s music and the 80s hair bands, and it's called Aldo-Nova, because I can't be qualified as a hair band, because they were just like, they were like, you know, pretty faces like the Warrants, the Poisons, the Bon Jovis. You know, they've sold a lot of records, but they fall into the category of glam metal hair bands. And I don't fall into that category at all. I don't fall into a 70s band. I fall into one zone. It's Aldo-Nova. And I made my first album it's a classic. It's iconic. That album. It's one of the best debuts around, and it's right up there with a lot of great records. So a lot of people seems to be discovering the fact that, you know, there was a guy there that was, you know, in 1982 that was making great music. Yeah. And the video doesn't hurt either. It'll come out in like a spandex leopard suit, lasering down a door. I mean,
you still got that?
No, that.
Come on! I just watched that video last night, and it took me back to being in high school, watching it on Friday night videos before MTV came along. You know, Aldo-Nova, and I'd be sitting there, whoa!
Yeah, exactly.
Guitar solo is so cool.
And it still does that. I mean, that's the comments, and that's the whole thing about Eddie Gage, is the story, and you read it. It's that the way he goes into retirement, not retirement, but he goes into seclusion at a certain point, and he starts reading the comments on his old videos, and the people, you know, he realizes that his songs help people during the hard times, but it also brought them back to a time when it was like the good times. Because 2022 is, excuse my language, I don't know if I can say, I just said it. So it's like, you know, it's like compared to 1982, and when people, you know, they want to go back to that time when they just, you know, they're in the back of the car with the speakers blaring, or in the back seat, you know, making out with their girlfriends to ball and chain, or you know, like having their like their stereos blasting the helicopters. I mean, that's you want to go back. Everybody wants to go back. That's why you have such a resurgence of everybody wants to go back to that music. That's why all this music is coming back. People want to go see classic rock bands, you know, because it was the best times. I mean, I have some stations here. We have satellite stations, but they're different programming than Sirius, because they'll have like remembering the 80s. And remember, you know, the 80s were like, one, it had the rock 80s, which were like you know, the bands like Me and all this the other, you know, the great commercial rock. But it also, the 80s also had like Rick Astley. It also had those great bands, Culture Club. And those are all, the music was fun. It puts you in a great mood.
Made you feel good.
And nowadays the music is like, I don't know what they're playing on the radio, but it's awful. It's awful. Like and it's tough. Like I said, there's people will play fantasy till they're blue in the face. You know what I mean? But to get them to play a new Aldo-Nova song, forget about it. Or anybody, if anybody comes up with all these classic rock stations now that are programmed by one master brain. Before, in the 80s, I'd go in, or the 80s, or even the 90s, I'd go in the morning and I'd play an acoustic song or a couple of acoustic songs from my album, meet the DJs, talk to the audience live, and then they'd spin my record. And then after you do a couple of those, and then the record company would come in and they start spinning your record. Now everything is controlled, and everything had its own little head everywhere. So you could get airplay on one station and an airplay on another station and airplay, and then it was suddenly the buzz would catch on. And in 2022, it's one brain. It's like one brain that selects the playlist for everybody for 700 stations. And that really is, if you can't get into that one brain, then you're done. So coming back to Eddie Gage, I mean, I had a plan. I released on April 1st. I hired, I had a plan. I had hired, press agents, and I hired, I thought that everything was together, and then it just didn't go as I planned. And their plan didn't work. Yeah. So now I've got to literally start over again from the top, start over again. And I mean, nobody's really ever heard of that I have new albums out unless you follow me, or the people that'll hear your show will know I have new albums. But it's tough. I mean, it's like, like I said, fantasy was a blessing, but it was also, it always pigeons you into holes into that, well, he can't come up with nothing new, So Eddie Gage for them is alien. Reloaded will probably get more airplay than Eddie Gage, if it even gets airplay. But Eddie Gage is it's an incredible record, but it's like something new. And I didn't choose to do an 80s classic rock record. I did something new that was innovative 40 years later. So,
well, I saw you that Aldo, you're going to be playing 80s in the Sand Festival in Cancun in October.
Yeah.
Are any plans for you to do a full tour or anything, or do you have a band that you're going out on the road with?
Oh yeah. I have an amazing band. I have Jack Frost on guitar, who's pretty well known, who's really well known. I have Dario Sextus, who's on bass and vocals. I have Angie Kirscher from Montreal on drums. I have Michael T. Ross from Vegas on keyboards. I have myself on guitar and vocals. So it's an incredible band, incredible musician, incredible performers. So I picked like the guys that we get along with. It's like my band is not. It's not me in front as a narcissist and then a wedding band. It's a brotherhood. We get along like brothers, and everybody's like, I'm not insecure. You know what I mean? So just go and do whatever you want. And that's what the guys like, the fact that they can go and give 100% of their performance. So
nice. Now, one of my favorite songs of yours is Monkey on Your Back. And I love the way the talk box comes out and how it translated to the video so well. Do you think rock guitarists these days are lacking the use of the talk box too much? I think they should use it more.
Actually, if you listen to the Reloaded version, I really use the talk box in the solo, which makes it a lot better. It makes it makes the song like Reloaded is a lot nastier versions of the first album, of the first versions. I managed to succeed with Reloaded, what a lot of people can't. I didn't copy. It's the same songs, but I made them I brought them up a notch. Yeah, the talk box. You can see it. It's right there. It's in right there. And I'm already in rehearsal mode 5 months ahead. Awesome. I mean, I sit here in my studio and I run the tracks and I sing and I play. It's like I'm getting myself in shape. So that'll be the start of hopefully something new. I just want to go kick ass, which I know I will. I'm good live. I mean, people come to me and they go, well, I still remember shows from 1982. And we're just going to go kick ass, turn on your phones, and post on YouTube. And then after that, we'll see how it starts. And I think it's got to start there. And then the repack, and then the relaunching of Eddie Gage and Reloaded will come from there.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Well, Aldo, we've appreciated your time today. And we always let our guests pick the song out of the interview from your catalog. What song would you like us to play going out of this interview?
What song would you like to play? From what era?
I don't care. Whatever one you want to play.
As long as it's rocking.
Yeah.
not one of the beautiful ballads. Cause
I have to, like, my remake of Ball and Chain is killer, but I play the 2.0 version of Blood on the Bricks and see how much
nice.
Yeah, see how much that rocks. Because what I did with Reloaded is I took off all of it. I just made it bass drum guitars. I just made it like raw, like a power trio. So there's no keyboards almost on anything. It's just like, so it's raw power. So Blood on the Bricks Reloaded will give you a good idea as to what we sound like live.
Outstanding.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate your time today, and you're always welcome back on Rock and Metal Revival, Aldo, and we hope to see you out on the road.
Yeah, don't worry. I'll be there.